Man, definitely battles on the court. I respect him. I got a lot of mad respect for the man.
Come on, man.
I seen people be physical with Mike. I seen him have a game plan to stop him. He altered his game plan every night. You couldn't stop him.
Wow, wow, what we got here. The off season is here for the NBA. And yet another clutch sports, LeBron James Justice League, is trying to move the goalposts, switch narratives, and make you think LeBron James is something more than what he is, right? All this energy that you put in to try to deframe other players and put down other players, you did the same thing to Kobe. You did the same. You're trying to do the same thing to Michael Jordan now. You do it to any player that's a threat to LeBron James, because LeBron James, what he don't have, you have to take it away from the other player to downgrade him. And who I'm talking about? Nobody other than a guy that works for Clutch Sports named Tom. This Tom, let me give you a little background on Tom. Tom once said Rudy Gay was a better clutch basketball player than Kobe Bryant. Those words alone should get you disqualified for even talking about basketball. But nevertheless, he comes out with articles trying to deframe Michael Jordan, caught lying again because he works for Clutch Sports. LeBron James must be on that payroll and helping you put money in your pocket. But that's okay, dog. You got me here to set the record straight, okay? Number one, you want to talk about Jordan's Defensive Player of the Year award. Well, let's talk about it. Jordan is a 6'6" guard, okay? In the 80s and 90s, getting Defensive Player of the Year award usually went to big men. And actually in 2020, it still goes to big men most of the time, because big men are usually your first line of defense, okay? They block shots. They do a lot of things that's related to defense. Just to sit alone and camp out and block shots would get you a Defensive Player of the Year award. Why do you think a guy like Rudy Gobert gets the award so much? Just because he's tall and he can alter shots sometimes. All right? But imagine being a 6'6" guard, blocking 7-footers. Imagine being a 6'6" guard and have to chase around other guards, steal the ball away from them. All right? Play mind games with them. Get all up in their mug, take charges. Do things that don't show up on a stat sheet, because that's what defense is a lot. A lot of defense is the eye test, right? Hustle, okay? Set defensive traps, what Jordan used to do with Scottie Pippen, right? Imagine doing all of that, and on the opposite end, you had to do scoring. You had to play both ways. You had to do some playmaking every here and there. So you had to be a utility man. You had to come in there and plug whatever the Chicago Bulls was lacking and missing. That's what Michael Jordan did. Whatever the Bulls needed him to do, he would have to make adjustments to doing that. All right? So, don't you think it's more remarkable that a guy 6'6" could compete with a bunch of 7-footers who naturally gonna alter shots just because they're bigs? All right? There's no even defensive stat for making somebody miss. All you have to do is just look at it with the eye test, okay? That the guy made it difficult for you to score or difficult for you to take a shot, because there's a lot of stuff that don't show up on the stat sheet when you're doing defense, all right? And Jordan was one of the 3 top defensive players in the late 80s, right? So, what do you think stands out more? Clearly, Michael Jordan. Number 2, you want to talk about Michael Jordan's stats at home.
You blew it, boy! You really blew it!
Compared to on the road. Well, again, you have to move over to the 80s and 90s again. This is not 2024. The game is different. The rules are different. If you growed up watching basketball in the 80s and 90s, you will realize with a brain that home court advantage meant something in the 80s and 90s, because that's when players got quote unquote home cooking. What I mean by home cooking is the referees will let you play more. They'll let you get rough and physical with the opposite team that come to your arena, right? So it was hard to win games on the road in the NBA in the 80s and 90s. A lot of the times you traveled differently. You was tired. All right, so you was fatigued doing all that traveling. And Jordan played 82 games 9 times throughout his career. He put that work in. Okay, so even in today, 2024, a guy like Luka, he plays better when he gets rest at home games. Why? Because it's 2 to 3 days of rest. So he could put up that 37-7. LeBron James, he takes games off so he could come back the next game with more energy, because it's grueling playing games every single minute. It's wear and tear on your body, but nevertheless, you get paid millions to go out there and do it, and Jordan gave the fans what they want. All right, so anyway, that is debunked, okay? Of course, your stats are going to get higher at home. You have blowout games, okay? You beat the brakes off teams. You have your assist ratio goes up, right? Because you're passing it to role players, hitting threes, everybody having a good time. They up by 20. And unlike in this generation, when you up by 20 in the 80s and 90s, you're most likely going to lose. You're most likely going to win the game. The other team is most likely going to lose. That's just a fact. Yeah, it's just a different generation. But you have to be able to understand that. Number 3, you want to talk about the rules and the assist. Well, assist, rebounds were calculated differently in the 80s and 90s, okay? I'm going to give you an example. If I pass you the ball in 2024, you could put the ball on the floor. You could dribble a couple of times, even if it's not a fast break. And the opposite player that passed you the ball will still get credit for an assist. Back in the day, it was a little more difficult to get credit for an assist. All right, it's not as open as it is now. This is why I say players from the past would love to be playing today, because they would have so much freedom on the offensive end, because the game is wide open on the offensive end. Spacing. Today's basketball is all about spacing. That's why guys shoot so much threes. Anyway, if you did that in the 90s and 80s, you won't get credit for an assist. The guy was just scoring. It would just count as his basket. In order to get a credit for assist back then, I would have to pass you the ball. You would have to shoot that ball immediately. That's a credit for an assist. If it's a fast break, you're only allowed to put the ball on the ground one time, then you come up with your shot. All right? And they're only able to do that later in the 90s. Back in the day, it had to lead to an alley hoop, or the minute I pass you the ball on a fast break, you're supposed to dunk that damn thing. And that counts as a credit for an assist. So just think about all the different rules that came into play, right? So an assist for LeBron James in 2024 is not an assist for LeBron James in 1990 or 1980. That's one thing, okay? So if you're going to tell a story, tell it completely right. So that debunks all your crazy myths. And the crazy stuff about it is you're only saying this to try to downplay Jordan and uplift LeBron James. Oh, Jordan got 5 MVPs. Let's take one away. Jordan got a Defensive Player of the Year award. Let's take one away. You can't change history. And you know what else you can't change? You can't change the fact that Jordan's a better scorer than LeBron James. Jordan's a better defender than LeBron James. That's proven. All right? 10-time scoring champ. 5-time MVP. He did what in 13 seasons, what LeBron can't do in 21 seasons. Prime peak for peak. Jordan is still better than LeBron James, because you can't take away hitting that game-winning shot. You can't take away the flu game. You can't take away the classic moments. You can't take away the switch. You can't take away nothing. It already took place, right? Unless you're going to come out with some stupid report like Jordan was on steroids, whatever. You could miss me with all of that. And you could miss me with all the conspiracy theories. The main thing is, if you're going to criticize even a guy like Michael Jordan or Kobe, make it factual and be correct. All right? Don't go off conspiracies. And don't pit LeBron James in your articles that's supposed to pertain to just Michael Jordan. That shows me right there that's suspect, and it's a setup. Sports Owl. Peace.